Something a little bit different this time around. I'm currently in session down at Junction 12 in Reading with my old mate Scott Lloyd, and we've been joined by 7 people for a group tutorial. And whilst we're here, we thought it'd be a good idea to bring the cameras down, walk around with us, and when the guys ask questions, give them the answers and put those answers out there for you guys, because I'm sure you guys sitting at home, there's questions that you want to ask time and time again, and hopefully by walking around, we can give the answers to the guys that have asked them, and you can pick up some information along the way. So first things first, I'm going to head over to Scott and he's going to talk you through a little bit about watercraft and how to approach a new venue.
So I would say probably one of my biggest edges, or what I would say serves me best in fishing, is definitely my watercraft fish finding ability. I don't want to make it sound like I'm giving it the big one, like I'm some sort of fish finding guru, but I definitely focus more on finding the fish than actually fishing for them. Once over the years you sort of refine your tactics down, and you only come across so many different situations really. Once you've almost got that bible with information of what rigs to fish on what spots and how to apply your bait, it all comes down to your watercraft. For me, that is personally, but I call it like my dark arts, if you like, of information that I don't really share with many people, unless maybe I'm on one of these tuitions like this sort of thing. The people that I feel deserve it really. I don't just give it all away for nothing. Some of it I just have to keep locked up there. But first things first, I would always say to extend your eyes, and what I mean by that is looking at the far margin. Wherever I am, how far that margin is away, if it's 100 yards away, 500 yards away, I will always look at the furthest possible point, as far as the eye can see. And the reason for that is so everything in between stands out. If you're walking around swim to swim to swim, and you're just looking at the 40 or 50, 100 yards that you can fish in front of you, everything behind that is out of focus. So straight away, you're extending your eyes. Like I say, even if it's 1,000 yards away, I will look as far as the eye can see, so everything in between stands out. And I know just from that point alone, you're gonna see probably tenfold of the things that you've been seeing before. Not only that, keeping your eyes on the water. All the answers are out there. If I need to move or find fish, I'm looking for shows, fizzing fish, bird behaviours. One of the biggest things I use is the birds, mainly the coots I would say, but absolutely any birds really, to give away the carp's location. Best one being the coots, because basically the way to go about it is I have watched these birds for years and years, so I've learnt their natural behaviours. So for me, anything unnatural stands out, if that makes sense. So I've watched them, I know the coots, they're going round with a little head bobbing, nice, picking off weed, doing what they normally do, and then all of a sudden it only takes something as small as a little twitch back, stomping to the feet, changing the direction, fully getting off. All them things are 100% signs of carp underneath them. They're scared of the carp, they startle them, and they really will just tell you where them fish are, because the fish aren't just doing this and fizzing up all the time. So anything I can use to my advantage to find them is a great little bit of advice. I've had it many a time. When I caught the baby black, that was all down to the birds. The swans, they had cygnets, all of these bird life signs are definitely heightened in the spring, without a doubt, because they've got young. So this time in particular, I was walking around the lake, I saw some swans. This is a long story short, of course, but yeah, I saw some swans pecking into the water, like really hissing, pecking into the water. I've actually got it on footage, and they're pecking into the water and they're attacking these carp, and they're big carp because they're bigger than the cygnets. And I actually moved on that one sign, and that night I literally caught the baby black. So if that isn't proof in the pudding, I don't know what is. I would say that going back to the coots, another one, any flight path of any bird, if I hear the geese coming in the evenings, giving it all that. Sorry about my my bird life noises, I'm not good at it. But yeah, see any geese coming in, flying low, swans as well, ducks, seagulls swooping down, looking at all the flight paths, because them, the amount of times I've had it where a big flying V of geese comes in, and I'm looking, and I see a big vortex under the surface. People generally might not spot that because they think, oh, a goose touched the water, but they don't. They don't touch the water until that last minute, or last second, sorry. So yeah, under the flight paths. Another one with the coots is definitely the diving spook. That's a great one because it's almost a 2-for-1. And what I mean by that is when they dive down, come back up and shoot off, yeah? That is 100% sign of a carp or carp feeding in that area. So it's give you away their location, but also what I do, if I know, for instance, say it's 12 feet out here, there or thereabouts, if I see a coot dive down, it goes down for 10, 15 seconds and what have you, then he comes back up and shoots off. I know that the carp were down at the bottom when he ran into them. However, if he dives down, he's only down there a couple of seconds and he comes back up and shoots off, that means that they're up in the layers. What can I use from that? Right, I don't need to fish on the bottom. I'm going to put the zigs out. So not only do they tell me where they are, they tell me what methods I could probably use to catch them. Surface, zigs, whatever. So that, yeah, like I say, I can't go into absolutely everything, but everything, all the answers are out there. So the more time I can spend watching, looking, listening in the night, I will be looking all the time. Even when I'm making a brew, I'm stirring a brew, I'm looking at the water. If I'm looking that way, watching my phone, sweeping, you know, I'm not going to be finding out what's going on in the pond. I mean, sometimes it can be easy, turn up, get the rods out, jobs are good and there's the fish. But sometimes you've just got to look that little bit harder and spend that little bit more time trying to find them before you can fish for them. So when I'm looking for these signs of fish, I'm not only using it to actually locate them and fish from that session, I'm using it the whole time. And what I mean by that is relating it to the weather. So I always say there's only two things that ever is going to have an effect on the fish to move, and that is either the weather in changing or angling pressure. And I will always be logging mentally and physically. Years ago I used to log it physically, but now I sort of do it mentally because I've got used to it. You see so many reoccurring patterns, but every lake is different. All fish are different. That could be different fish in one lake. And what I mean by it, what I'm trying to get at is I'm logging their movement based on the weathers and angling pressures. For instance, you know, if all of a sudden you start seeing reoccurring patterns of carp moving onto certain conditions, i.e. whether it be the wind direction, the sun up, the sun down, the air pressure, or certain, you know, reoccurring patterns of when a certain amount of swims get taken on one bank, the fish move to another certain area. When you start seeing these reoccurring patterns, what it's doing is it's teaching you where them fish go in certain, you know, weather conditions or under certain angling pressures. And what that allows you to do is get ahead of the fish. And that is when you start getting onto a winner. That is when I think you're now reading the lake, reading your fish, getting to know your quarry almost, you know. So what I mean by that is you could see, say they move on this fresh northeasterly or something like that, and you see that a few times reoccurring, you could see one rolling in and go and get ahead of them. You know, one's coming in tomorrow, right, I'm going to get ahead of them, and they turn up on you and you get baits because all your lines are bed in, the bait's been there for a little bit, little patches are gone from little fish and natural's eating it, the bird's having it, so it looks natural. There's nothing better than carp turning up on you. Yes, I like responsive fishing. There's some showing in the weed, let's get the choddies out, or there's one in the edge. I love that type of fishing, but I tell you now, there's no better feeling than when you read a situation, get ahead of them and they turn up on you. I'd rather catch one fish like that than just be like, walk onto a lake, be like, oh, you going, are you, mate? How many have you had? How many wraps? Oh, he's had 10, so I'll just put my rods out there and catch them. Yeah, it is fishing, you're catching them, but when you can get ahead of the fish, they turn up on you, that is absolute gold.